It's your open source advocate, and I'm back with another video. And today I wanted to cover updating your Nextcloud AIO install. Now, if you followed my video previously where I installed Nextcloud AIO, you may have it up and running, but maybe you're wondering, like, how do I do these updates? It's complicated, I just don't understand, or maybe you just haven't done it because you didn't want to try to tackle it. So I thought I'd go through it with you today to show you how to get that done. It's not as complicated as you think, but there are some steps involved. So I'll also have show notes. I'll link that in the description as always so that you can go and follow those steps step by step. But also if you just follow along in the video, you should be able to get this done without too much problem. There's a few things we always want to do, right? The basics. We want to make sure we get connected properly. We want to make a backup. Always, always, always make a backup before you do any kind of upgrades, just in case. Now, I have not had an issue with AIO after the upgrades so far, knock on wood, but I definitely want to make a backup just in case something goes wrong. I can bring that data back after I get everything back up and running. I want to make sure everything's protected, and that's because, one, I use the system, but I also have my family that uses this system to store their things, and I want to make sure that everything is backed up and safe for them. So we're going to get into how to update Nextcloud AIO right after this. I just want to say thank you so very much to all of my patrons over at Patreon. It just means the world to me that you want to support my content every month, that you want to give me the opportunity to get out here and give you more content, and your support makes that possible. So thank you, really, truly, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so very much. And to everybody who does buy me a coffee or buy me a beer over at PayPal with that one time, where you send me a little money, man, you just don't understand how much that means to me every day. How much that means when I see that. It brightens up my spirits. It brings me up out of a little bit of a funk sometimes. It just makes my day better. So I truly appreciate that. For everybody who subscribes on YouTube, I truly appreciate that too, because that helps the channel grow, that helps other people find the channel and the amazing open source software world that exists out there that a lot of people just don't realize is there. There is so much that you can take advantage of and do so much with, and it's out there and ready for you. So thank you very much for subscribing. If you haven't already done so and you want to become a patron, check the links in the description in the show notes. You can do that. And I always upload my videos directly to Patreon so that there are no ads in those versions. So if you watch them through Patreon, you get it without ads. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll get a few ads. I don't control what ads Google puts on there. So you may see some weird stuff sometimes. If you don't mind the ads, that's fine. But if you'd like to see it ad-free, you could definitely jump over to Patreon and become a patron to get the ad-free version as well. One more time, thank you all so very much. Now let's get started on the video. Okay, so I can see here in my notifications, and I also get notifications through email because I've set that up in Nextcloud, but it notifies me in a bunch of different ways. But you can see I've got master container updates, but I've also just got container updates. So there's kind of two sets of updates we need to go through. One is the master container and one is the containers. So I can go ahead and clear out these notifications here just so I have my notifications all cleared up. And what I need to do is I actually need to go in and stop the Apache web server from running. And that's running in Docker, but it's not as difficult as it sounds. So I'm going to jump back over here now. I have these things installed through Incus. It just depends on how you installed them, but you want to get onto that server where you've got this stuff running. So I'm going to jump into this server and I'm going to go to my containers here, and I'm just going to go down until I find the one that says Nextcloud right here, and I'm going to click in. I'm going to jump to the console that they provide me, which is super convenient, by the way, and I'm just going to log in. And I will just do a Docker PS. Now this is going to show me all of the containers that I've got running. I'm going to blow this up for you guys. It makes it a little bit awkward to use this when I do it this way, but this way you can see what I'm doing better. But you see I've got this one right here called Nextcloud/AIO-Apache latest. It's the one that's running, and what I want is this name right here. So I want Nextcloud-AIO-Apache. So I'm going to move back down to the terminal here, and I'm going to type in docker stop Nextcloud-AIO, make sure we type it right, Apache. It's going to stop that container. So that Apache container is what makes it so that I can get to my Nextcloud services whenever that container is running. When I stop it, it's going to let me get to the admin interface. So now that it's stopped, I'm going to go back up here, and I'm just going to do an IP-BR-CA just to see what my IP addresses are. And I'm looking for my local IP, which is .11 right here. So if you don't know your IP address for your Nextcloud server, you can do it this way. So I've got that address. So I'm just going to go back into Firefox, and I'm just going to go HTTPS. This is important. You want to put the S on there. :// and then the IP address of that server, and then colon, and I believe it's 8080. So we're just going to hit 8080 here. And yes, it's going to come up and it's going to say, hey, here's your Nextcloud AIO login. Now, when you set up the AIO, you were given a long, strong master password for your admin user. You need to have that and you need to put it in here. It's not the same password that you use as a user to log into Nextcloud. So I have that here. I'm just going to paste it in. I'll just blur that out. Don't worry, guys. And we're going to log in. And we are now logged into our Nextcloud AIO, and we can see that I'm running version 9.8.0. Now this is not Hub 9, this is still Hub 8. But right here you can see I've got this thing that says open your Nextcloud, but I can go down and I can see I've got some stop containers and I've got update warnings, but I want to get down to this backup and restore section first. And I'm going to go here and I'm just going to expand this. I'm going to go all the way to the bottom of it and I'm going to say create a backup. Going to confirm that I want to do that, and I do, so I'm going to say yes, create a backup. Now this in the background starts up a new container that's called the Nextcloud AIO Borg backup container, I think is what it's called, but it uses Borg backup to run this backup for us and back up all of our data and all of our settings and things like that. So you definitely want to give this time to run. Now you can see it made everything go away and it tells me you are running the latest channel and backup container is currently running. So we're just going to let it run. And if I stay on this screen, you see how it blinks every once in a while? That's it refreshing the screen. So it's basically going, okay, give it a few seconds, check again, see if it's done. Give it a few seconds, check again, see if it's done. So when it finishes, it'll know and it'll come back to this. Now, if I leave this screen and I go do something else, I'll have to go over here and there'll be a little refresh link. So I'll kind of show you what that looks like if we leave the screen long enough. Because of the way Firefox works, it doesn't like to refresh things in the background sometimes, so it may stop doing that. We'll give it a second, see if it keeps blinking or not. So I'm looking at my Nextcloud. I can go back over here, and you see how it quit doing the refresh, so it has this little thing that says reload. This is just your way to say, hey, check to see if it's finished with the backup. You just want to give it plenty of time to finish that backup. It'll tell you when it's done. You can just hit that reload, then it's going to let you know, like, hey, everything should be good. So click here to view the current AIO config and documentation. We've got our containers, but right here we have update master container. So our backup ran. We can see it ran today and it ran just now. So this is UTC. So this is not my local time, but UTC, but it did just run. So the backup is on that server. I can go get to that backup if I need to. Now I'm going to go up here and I'm going to click on update the master container. So this is the thing that we're looking at right now. Essentially, the master container is the thing that kind of controls all of the other Docker stuff for us. And they put out updates to make it better over time. So give it a little bit of time because it says it's currently being updated. It can take a few minutes sometimes for that to happen. Just be patient while that works. And it's the same thing. You see it keeps kind of blinking because it's refreshing to check and see if it's done. Sometimes you're going to see it do this. It'll go away. Don't worry. That's because it literally shuts down the container after the update and restarts it. And so give it some time. You can just refresh right here. Sometimes just depending on the browser, it may refresh on its own and check and it'll come back and you'll see that it's back, which means it's probably ready for the next step. So we've done two things. We've done three things. One, we stopped our Apache container. Two, we ran our backups. Very, very important. Three, we're running our master container update. So if there's a master container update, you'll see that button. You want to run that next. Once that's finished and it comes back up, we're going to run the updates for the rest of the containers. And the master container handles that for us in the AIO install. So this is kind of like, master container is kind of like Portainer, I guess you'd say. It's a tool that helps you deal with other Docker containers, but it lets the Nextcloud folks really help you make sure that that all runs the way they expect and the way they intend it to. Now we can just hit the refresh and see if it's back up yet. Sometimes it'll be back pretty quick. And it is, so it didn't take long. Maybe that was a minute or so. So now we see start and update containers. So you can see all of my containers are stopped. We ran the backup. We got everything updated for our master container. So you can see our master container is now running version 10.0.0. So we're going to run this update right here. It's going to say, are you sure you want to do this? Yes. So again, this is going to go out and pull down all of the latest versions of these different containers. And you've got quite a few containers, and depending on what you're running, you might have even more than me, but it's going to go out and pull down the new Apache. the new database, the new Nextcloud stuff, the Notify stuff, everything that you see here, it's going to pull down new containers if they exist. It's going to start getting those things started up. It might have to do some data migrations in the background. So while you see a pretty little spinning wheel, it's doing a lot of stuff in the background. So again, be patient, let it run. It takes some time, and just depending on the type of upgrade that it's doing, it can take longer. Sometimes they're very quick. It just depends. All right, so it just finished the spinner. It just popped back to this screen. So again, it does that refresh in the background, and you'll see it blink on the background occasionally. But you can see here, it's starting things up. Some things are already running, other things are starting. And what I've noticed when I watch the logs to see what's happening is Nextcloud and Apache usually take the longest, and they're waiting kind of for each other to get started, and then they'll both change to running. And I think usually Nextcloud changes first, and then Apache changes. And once Apache changes to running, you're usually able to get back into your Nextcloud instance. So we're going to give that a little time for those to get up and running. Just, again, be patient. It takes time for those to get started, and there may be some migrations that are happening, is why it's taking a little bit of time for those to go. All right, that took about 3 or 4 minutes this time. So you can see a couple of notifications down here about things that are kind of getting started up. So I'm on 30.0.2, which probably means I'm on the Hub 9 or the newest version of Hub. So we've got this thing that says open your Nextcloud, so we can click there, but we can see all of our application Docker containers are running now. So we can actually just close this. I can close that just to go back and just reopen it from my normal link. Make sure my authentication stuff works here. So it's telling me about whiteboard stuff. And here I've got everything back up to where I would expect it to be. So a few of the things that they've changed in here, I know they said they've improved talk quite a bit. I'll have to kind of check this out and see what it looks like or if it looks different to me, but I want to go over here to the administration sections or settings. So it'll go through and it'll tell you a few different things. We can get to that admin interface here, but if you do it right now without Apache stopped, you're not going to get into the mode where you can do the updates. So right here it says all checks passed. That's great. And the version is Hub 9, version 30.0.2. So I'm now on the latest version. Now Hub 9 came out back in September, mid-September. Here we are in mid-December. So that's 3 months later that they just now got us to the point that we can actually run Hub 9. But one of the nice things about it is the AIO team is like, hey, there's a bunch of things that we're waiting on to make sure that it gets fixed before we update your all-in-one so that they don't break everything for us. So it's a very stable way to run Nextcloud, which I appreciate. Sometimes I kind of want those features a little bit quicker, and definitely if I ran it not in the AIO way, it would be better. But yeah, I mean, this is great. So I can get to my files and folders. I can see everything that I want to look at. So I can look at documents, for instance. I can resort this. Documents is right there at the top, but yeah, we can find documents and we can go in, and here's all of my documents and folders and things that I have out there for just all kinds of stuff. So yeah, I mean, really up and running, great. I'm excited about it. I need to look and do Hub 9 to see what all of the features were again back from over in September from their different talks, but I think mail was one of them, if I remember correctly. So let's just check mail. I've always noticed their mail client is a little bit odd. It doesn't seem to load and then get rid of email and sync with all my stuff through IMAP like you would expect. I don't know why. I'm really hoping for some improvements to that. Maybe they have it here in Hub 9. It looks like it's trying to figure out like, okay, what does your mail look like right now? Yeah, so like, I don't think I have this many emails in my inbox, but I'll go check to make sure that I'm not incorrect about that. So I've got a hover order confirmation there, which is cool. If we go back and look at some other stuff here, again, Talks is supposed to have gotten some really good updates. The calendar also should have gotten some good updates. So I'm kind of excited about some of the things that they're doing here. I don't really use this in a way that like an enterprise would use it, but to me, the calendar looks about the same, but the calendar functionality in Nextcloud for me is incredibly good. I sync up my phone, I sync up everything like that. My family, we've got a family calendar. I can put things on there so we remember about all of our different appointments that we have and stuff like that. And it works out really, really well. I really like that feature of it. The file sharing, of course, is absolutely incredible. The email, I'm excited to see how it does and how it goes. And then Talk, I'm kind of interested to see how it does as well, because having switched lately to Matrix for my discussion forum, I use one for my family, one for my discussion forums, separate instances, but I'd love to see how talk works just because I thought, man, that could be maybe a good one for my family as well. But yeah, some really great features and really great updates, but I wanted to walk you through how to update your AIO instance. Maybe you knew how to do it already, maybe you weren't sure if that was the right way to do it, but this is definitely the way you should do it, and this is just according to their documentation as well. I hope this helped all of you with anything you're wondering about how to upgrade your Nextcloud AIO. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, tell your friends about it so they can come along in the open source journey with us, and I'll talk to you next time.